Hi guys, so I am pre-filming a little bit today. I just finished filming some stuff on my laptop that I will edit later. But I wanted to do a little video based on makeup. I try and do this with as minimal editing as possible, just so that this is a little bit easier. You know, my makeup videos tend to take me a little bit longer to edit just because they're much longer videos and not as many people watch them. So they're kind of something I do for me. Today I want to but I saw ItsJustSteph on YouTube do a video where she grabbed randomly 12 palettes out of her collection and then had to pick a favorite shade in each palette. I believe she did 12 palettes. I don't think I have 12 palettes. So I'm just going to grab all my eyeshadow palettes and we're just going to go through each and every one. So give me 1 second while I grab all of them because I'm not prepared. All right, so I'm just gonna randomly grab what's in front of me and we're gonna go over it. And I will do swatches so you can see them. Before we get started, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and stay a while, hang out with me. My name's Katrina. This is the movie and makeup moment. Let's get into it. So the first palette is a controversial one. I really kind of got suckered into the Shane Dawson documentary around this, and I didn't even really like this palette, but I bought it. And no, it's not the version with the pretty green shade. So let's see. My favorite shade realistically in this palette is this light purple. I actually, ooh, you can't even see that. See, it's a very subtle purple for me, but it's really pretty on my eyelids. And I do like it washed all over my lids. You know, this is a really good crease thing, but overall, it's not my favorite palette. I bought it because I just really liked the show. Okay. So this one is a little bit of a newer palette. This is the Star Wars Baby Yoda palette. And I have to say my favorite right now, so not my favorite overall, but my favorite right now is this shade up here called Precious Cargo. It's a super shock formula. And again, I have used it as like an all over, oh, you can't even see it, an all over lid shade. See how it's kind of, it's just like a sheared out wash of color. That has been really great. But then again, I haven't been able to play around with this fully yet because it is newer. Here, let me just put these aside so that I know that I've done them. Okay, so my next palette is the Soft Glam palette, and I don't know what would be my favorite shade. I'm not as huge a fan of the shimmers in this palette. They are not the brightest. They're kind of like satin shades. I guess if I had to go by what I've used the most, it would be this burnt orange shade because clearly you can see I've hit pan on it. But right now I'm really into a little bit of the cool tone vibe. So right now this dusty rose color is pretty good. Then again, I can't pick a shimmer in this palette because they're just not strong enough for me. I do feel like this is a very dependable palette though, and I do grab for it when I know that I just need my makeup to be flattering. Okay, so this Makeup by Mario Rosy Glam Quad is a little bit newer. It is messy, a little bit messy. I have gone in on this. I thought this purple shade was going to be my favorite, but I don't find it to be as pretty. Like, see, it's very duochromy on the finger, but when you swatch it, I mean, I guess it's pretty, but it just dulls out a little bit. This silver shade, however, performs beautifully. So that would be my favorite shade in this palette for sure. Next. Okay. Let's see. This Naked palette, I bought this when they announced that it was going to be phased out. And I had a little FOMO because I couldn't afford this palette when it was, you know, when it was in its glory with Kathleen Lights and everything. I was still, I don't know, not able to go buy a $60 palette. But then this baby went 50% off at Ulta after I had my second child, and I bought it because I needed to know what I was missing. This gold shade has been a favorite. See, that is like the one gold I feel like I have in my collection that is a great like wash of color all over the eyes. I haven't really played with this palette enough. This shade right here I was so intrigued by because it looks blue, but it doesn't swatch blue. It doesn't show up on your eyes blue. It's incredibly disappointed. It's just a gunmetal color and it makes me sad. It's not pretty on the eyes. So there's that. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 palettes left. And I'm just gonna do my single eyeshadow palette. Now, obviously in a single eyeshadow palette, let me take all my little magnets off. They are going to be some of my favorites because otherwise I would have gotten rid of them. This orangey shade, these square ones are from the Alamar palette that I received from BoxyCharm. This orange is probably, you know, time to let this go because it's not that unique. And you know, this probably isn't that unique either. It's good, but I don't know. I see people on the internet all the time say, this will last me forever and I'll have this palette forever. But I can actually tell when I touch the shades whether or not they're getting old and whether or not I should really be buying different shades. Because there's a marked difference in the texture. Like the shimmers start to become a little bit powdery because they're, you know, whatever substance is in them to keep them like nice and like, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. They're a little bit buttery and then they become a little bit dry. So I can tell that this one is becoming a little bit dry and it used to be my favorite. However, I got 2 new shadows from Looksy today, 2 duochromes. This one would have to be my favorite. And I will definitely be purchasing from Looksy again. I really want you guys to see this shade. It's a duochrome and it is just, oh my God. I really want to play with this shade. I did get one other shade from Looksy, but I don't know how I feel about it. It doesn't feel as special. Well, see, on camera, it's very different. You know what it is? I think it's just because it's very cool toned. So that shade that I'm really loving from Looksy is Nirvana. And then this shade right here is Genesis. And I'm really loving those out of my single shadows. Single shadows are fun. I try to keep my single shadow collection smaller because I tend to use them with my other palettes. Okay, so let's get into the Zulu palette by Juvia's Place. This one's going to be hard. Juvia's Place has like a little bit of a drier formula. It kind of reminds me of Morphe, to be quite honest. I think Juvia's Place works really well, but you know, I've had this palette for maybe a month and I can just tell that it's starting to get a little bit, the mattes though, oof, I can just tell that it's starting to get a little bit older. Like it's just starting to feel different. And I guess maybe I shouldn't expect it to be new feeling forever, but I guess I want it to be. So I have to say that this blue, my hands are wet, I don't want to, this blue is my favorite out of this palette. Although I have to say I don't play with color all that often. So I do need to experiment with this a little bit more. If I was going to go with a matte or something that I wear in this palette quite often, that yellow shade is definitely really good. Although I'm getting the Raw Beauty Christie at For a Sight palette, so I have a feeling that one of her yellows is going to kind of take the place. So this is the Natasha Denona holiday palette this year. I just picked this up. Right now I have to say it's a tie between these two. But maybe it would have to be this because I don't really have a lot of silvers in my collection. And it does feel like a very unique silver because it's very rich. Yeah, I really like that, but just to swatch this so that you can see it, it doesn't swatch that well, but I went in there with a wet brush the other day and you can really build it up. So yeah, I guess it would have to be that silver shade, which is kind of like an obvious. This deeper shade, I have not really begun to play with all that much. I like don't really know how to wear the deeper shade. All right, this is messy. The Violet Voss Pro palette. I have to play with this more. As I said in a previous video, I tend to really gravitate towards like the warmer shades in here. I will say these three shades have gotten the most use. This one, and then this toffee shade. I have to say this On Fleek color. Oh my God. See, I have to play with that one. I don't know what it is about this big palette, but I don't want to touch it. But I gotta play with that. That is so rich, especially for Thanksgiving. Oh my God. I could pair that with like that Natasha Denona palette with like that orangey and then just like bam. Yeah, I gotta do that. That one. So On Fleek would win that one. And then this is the Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette. This is the last palette. I have not been able to play with this one that much. I've only had it for less than a week, but I do really like this champagne color. Now that's kind of boring to say that I really like the champagne color, but it's something that I use every time I do an eye look. Now that is like really pretty. That champagne color is something I use every time I do an eye look. So it's really something that I gravitate towards because if I'm going to use it quite frequently, then it's going to be top of mind, let's say. Wow, I was like really close to the camera. I'm sorry about that. All right, well, I hope you guys liked that. You know, when you look at your palette collection, do you gravitate towards one shade over and over in your palettes? Do you kind of resist the urge? Do you force yourself to kind of use shades that you don't normally use? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, thanks. Bye.